Greetings, greetings. Welcome to the 12th program of Stepping into the Light for 2024 with your host, Ross Bishai. It's the 150th program overall at Bay Hill Radio, Concord Radio for Tuesday, 29th October 2024. Tonight we're having some technical problem in the station. Apparently the main computer is down. I don't know if you are hearing the radio direct. If not, you will get the recording as soon as we finish it sometime late in the week. So, with us. Mahatotep to all listening and following this program. It's good to be here with you again for another program. Real good to be here with you. And as we always do, and I started praise giving others to the Most High and calling our ancestors. Glory to the Word, glory to the Son, and glory to the power of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. Almighty creator of the universe, and blessed be the irates of His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie, and Her Imperial Majesty Empress Menen, one perfect balance. Blessed be the irates of our ancestors in the two, which walk alongside our always, keep our feet from slipping and falling, and our hands from mischief and speaking, and our mouths from slander and idle speaking, mischief and stealing. And I call on the goddess Mat and the 42 divine ones from creation to keep our people firmly on the 7 basic principles of truth, order, balance, harmony, law, morality, and justice. When I life over death, light over darkness, mind over matter, and good over evil every time. Ashe. Yes, people, we seem to be having a little temporary, sure it's temporary, technical problem in the studio, but you know it is. The radio has to persevere, and so does Concord Radio, and so also did this program. So we give thanks to all those and to the sponsors of this program, and as well as to you, the listeners, who make the program a reality. And I hope you're somehow or the other hearing a part of this program. I'm not sure. But whether you're hearing it live now, you will have a recording ASAP. So, happenings, what are we going to look at tonight? We have a few things to look at. 45th political, we're going to do a review of the 45th political independence celebrations. What do they really mean? How independent are we as a people, as a nation? And what progress have we made developmentally over the 45 years? We're going to have a brief look at that. We're going to look at the review of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund Ministry of National Mobilization Cooperative Development Symposium, which went under the theme Revitalizing the Productive Cooperative Sector in St. Vincent and Grenadines. We're going to look at the present situation, the objectives and goals going forward, and what's really needed to achieve that. We're going to also look at the preview of the first annual Cannabis Festival scheduled for this weekend, the 1st to the 3rd of November, at the Arnesville Sporting Complex. And we're going to say a bit about the proposed traditional marijuana farmers workshop. We're also going to speak about the 22 farming families from different communities in St. Vincent and Grenadines who have received a package of vegetable seeds plus other inputs courtesy of an indigenous organization based in New York. And of course, we're going to have our biodynamic gardening planting by the moon phase guide for the period Wednesday, 30th October, that is next day, to Tuesday, 5th November 2024. Right. Well, first of all, I must say that weather-wise, October has been to date, there are still 2 days to go, 30th and the 31st. But October has been to date what I would call a very good October. Not too much heavy rain, not too little rain, well distributed, and actually an excellent farm in October. I haven't seen one like this for a long time. We always have some real heavy showers. Not that we do not want the water or we do not need it, but this one was what you will call a farmer's gem in terms of the distribution of water and the quantity of water. And I hope that lots of people have the facilities, lots of genuine farmers in particular, have the facilities necessary, some small infrastructure to store some of this water going forward in this winter, which is scheduled to be rather dry. Okay. So let us start where we should start. We start at the 45th political independence celebrations. They happened over the weekend up to yesterday. Right? And they should have been well attended because people seem to be in that kind of a mood. Can't say exactly what happened because I was mainly at home for the weekend or in the vicinity of Camden Park. What do they really mean? Well, basically what they mean is that the entity of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you hear me say the entity, and you might be wondering what I'm speaking about. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, really speaking, is not the land. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is the name of a registered corporation which will represent the land and the people. The land itself is Urumi or Hairuna. Okay? Urumi was the last official name given by the people who were the original people of this land. And both of them have the same meaning. Blessed land, some people say we won't be blessed, but it means blessed land, and it is a blessed land. So the independence is really what we should say, a document that the people who govern this country from that time for the past 44 years, the governments govern on behalf of the original, not the original, of the forced colonizers. That is why we still have Britain as our overall mother country, as you say, on paper. Don't ever doubt that. That's a fact. Just check it out. The independence comes from the notion that they don't send anyone from England or from Britain down here to govern us, one of their people. We, by some way, choose, the system is that you choose the people to govern and administer to you. That is what the independence means. And you make your own decisions in the main on certain things, like foreign affairs, connection, and that sort of thing. Okay? As far as the people goes, as far as the people goes and the nation goes, it's a kind of a funny situation in that most people in their lifestyle think that they are independent. Not politically independent, but that they could walk alone, like one hand could clap. So they walk, because of that same teaching during that enslavement and early colonial period, they have not gotten over that psychology yet. That divide and rule that started there. They still wanted an individual instead of being part of a collective. And there's no way in the history of our people, our ancestral people, original melanated people, that we've had anything called individual security. It's always collective principle. It's always the principle of collective security. And that is what we should be practicing now in our liberty. The principle of collective security in our daily lives, in business, in everything, organization, community work, everything. We have to work together. There's no other way you can get ahead and come out of the darkness except you do that. Except you do that and do it genuinely, and you look out for each other. Look out for yourself, of course, but you look out for each other. Because unity is strength. They have no other strength in anything. And this unity is not strength. Some people say one thing and practice another. So for us, for the nation to be independent, it might sound funny, we have to be, all of us, dependent on the love and linkage and unity of each other. Because it's the sum of that, not the sum, the product of that, that makes us strong. So the nation will be independent in a lot of things. And when the nation is independent in a lot of things, then the people become also independent as a oneness. There are a few things, we could say a lot of things in this area, but we don't have time for that in this program. I'm just highlighting certain things. Highlighting certain things. Okay? So as a people and as a nation, we are still too scattered organizationally. Still too scattered organizationally. That is why we as a people are not strong enough to formulate our own narrative and to decide our own economic direction and social direction. And we cling on to the governments for the last 45 years, which are really not responsible, never mind what we say and what they say. This is fact. Not really responsible for reporting to us, but reporting to the people who put them there, the bigger people out there to govern on their behalf. And that is exactly what's happening. That is why certain policies that come from outside and rule roughshod over us, because they accept them, the governments accept them, carte blanche really, and enforce them on the people. And we are suffering from one of those policies right now. We have been suffering for the last 30 years, almost the last 40 years from this same policy. It is a policy to downplay seriously the economic and national importance of agriculture. Carry it as far down as possible. And even express it in words that agriculture is a thing of the past. And the thing that they, the outsiders, want now, the thing of the present, is to use these islands like these, countries like these, and make them a footstool for their people. A holiday spot where they could just come and, relax. And somehow around that, we could find our living out of that. I think we're doing again, yes. Just had some interruptions, we're here again. So what I'm saying is that the people who own the income generating aspect of this economy now, our economy in the last 40 years, since we have been said to be independent, are the same class of people who owned it in the colonial days. Same class. Very few of our people have been able to reach up to that level. But most of the hotel stocks are owned by big corporations and not by any small people, whether individually or collectively, and they control most of that. So as far as the independence and how independent are we as a people is concerned, we have very, very, very far to go. We ain't reach anywhere, as the children would say. Okay? To gain that level of independence, and this might sound like a paradox, but it isn't. We have to learn, as a nation, we have to learn how to be interdependent progressively. That means you have to learn how to work together as a people at every level and help each other. So everybody rises. I'm not falling in that. Okay? Everybody rises and rises to the top when the time comes. What progress have we made developmentally over the 45 years? Well, if you're looking at infrastructure, we have made some progress. Not the progress, I'm not even sure if we have made net progress in certain areas. But we have made progress. We have made progress, for example, in the level of our housing and our house construction. You have to call a spade, okay? We have made progress in that area. We have made progress in infrastructure in terms of physical infrastructure, the number of schools we have and that sort of thing, okay? We have made progress in terms of the deep water facilities. We have some made progress in that. We have made progress in terms of our airport infrastructure. We have made some progress in terms of our road network, but that has a long way to go. Well, not really a long way as such, but a very, in terms of mileage, but in terms of importance and significance. And when we look at that aspect, you could see that we are not really, independence is not really aimed at really bigging up the people, the real ordinary people. Because if that was so, our focus, our narrative would have been in control and a part of that decision making in determining, regardless of which government in place, which government, because they're always trying to give you tit or tat, right? We would have had roads and infrastructure in the areas which could benefit a lot of the ordinary people, and that is the farming areas. Because what the system did before was to take the flatter lands, the more accessible lands by vehicle, and control them, and put the mass of the people on the fringe lands where there are no motorable roads. Not that the roads can't go there, but the roads didn't go there. From the donkey cart time to now, no roads. So when that infrastructure is properly developed, then the ordinary man and woman will be have easier access to economic progress, growth, and development. But right now, we solve. So we still have to talk about we're going to mountain or we're going to bush and that kind of thing. And nothing is wrong with the land or the mountain, but it's getting access in and out with inputs and with people. And until we solve that problem in a way where we could be competitive with producers in other countries, we ain't saying anything. That is part of the real independence. We have to get, and to get that we have to be aware of the interdependence and the dependence needed between and within us, each of us, and each of our groupings. Otherwise we ain't going anywhere. We're just spinning top in mud. Spinning top in mud. that don't sleep. No top ever sleeping money yet. Yes, over the past 45 years, for sure, per person, per capita, or per capita, 45 years ago, we had more food available for each person. More food available, more locally produced food. That's a FACT. As big as you could write it, as big as you could say it. We had more food, more local food. Because we produce more, we consume more, and we even had exported more, and we industrialized more. So one of the things that we have not made any progress in is the level of our agricultural industrialization. Let's say it again. The level of our agricultural industrialization has fallen tremendously by design. And until we call a spade and get really firm in our minds and in our actions together and decide, look, this crap had to stop and we have to put money, half of that money that these governments say they spend, our money, not talking about the investors' money, our money in certain things outside of agriculture should have gone to agriculture. Because food is health and health is wealth. So while we have 45 years of independence, we are a sicker country today than we were 45 years ago. And that's a fact. That's a fact. We are a hungrier and more malnourished country today than we were 45 years ago. Yes, some people might be eating 3, 4 times, 5 times a day, but what they're eating is mostly garbage. Over-processed food, food with trans fats, food with all sort of things that they have processed, put inside there to slow you down, to make you done thinking, to change your whole mentality and demeanor. Yeah. So we are worse off as a people nutritionally and health-wise 45 years after than we were 45 years before. Definitely. Definitely so. Yes, in terms of what has happened, we have people now, we have more people who are not inclined, they don't have the vibration to work. They don't have it. They don't have the ethics to work. They figure to just go by and get some little handout somewhere and that's it. And they're satisfied with that. And they would add to that some stealing from someone. We never had in the history of this country a higher level of predial larceny than we had in this last decade or two. It didn't start at that time, but it gravitated towards the level we are now, that a lot of people, from even like late in the 80s or in the 90s, a lot of people were afraid, especially women folk in the rural area, afraid to farm small ruminants, sheep and goat, or any type of livestock, because you could go sleep like tonight, you tie them in, and when you get up tomorrow, you tie them somewhere, all you're seeing is the rope. If you see the rope, that's it. That is where we have gone. And the people who rob from each other, poor, especially from the poor, in an organized manner. Because they decide that is the work they're going to do. They're not going to do anything more involved or difficult or hard work or backbreaking or productive, honest like that. That's what they have chosen. And that is how our people have come over the last 45 years. Because as a society and as a people, we have not taught and put a structure in place to give growth to this kind of a ethic and this social behavior. We just leave it as it is and think that by just having something what we call laws, which are really acts, to say, well, if you're found guilty of this, you go to that and you do that. That itself is not even a deterrent. That stops nothing. And that is where we are. So we have an impoverished society after 45 years. It's like we have a child. This corporation is like a child, 45 years old. Yes. Some parts of the body okay, but the rest, most of it, ain't saying nothing at all. Sick, too bad, as they would say. Yeah, that is way after 45 years. So that is the thought of progress we have made, where out of every dollar of food that we eat, 73.5 cents is imported food on average. That is how it is. Out of every dollar value of food that we eat in this country, 73.5 cents is imported food that goes outside to buy the food we eat. Could never consider anything like that as independent. Not when you have the most fertile and the best physically structured soils in the entire Americas, right here. Man didn't make it. Ordinary man didn't make it. Nature. That's how it is. Okay? And we get in rain here, which some people are just speaking to an indigenous friend of mine 20 minutes ago before this program started in New York. And the person suffer from allergies. And they were wishing that some rain could come now so that the pollen count would go down. And look, we have in rain here, at least a little every day. Right now, as the program is going to have rain here. So see how blessed we are? We take everything for granted. So if we really want to make progress over the next 45 years, which is a generation and a half, that is including the people who now are like 15 years old and lower. Okay? And the next generation to come. We have to start doing something serious right now. Right now. For example, in terms of our workforce, we have to start training the youth to put their minds towards work. And that had to start at the school age. It wouldn't start in the schools if you leave it to the system. No, you have to start to teach your children that at home and in the communities. That is why you have to stop these little isms and schisms that separate you in the communities and get together and start community training a lot of your children. And those for the few good people who homeschool their children, which right now I support 100%, homeschool them most of the time, that is what you have to do. Because the other schools are not teaching our children that's a reality. That is what you're seeing, that is what we're seeing right now. That is what we're seeing right now. I could tell you right now, people who used to sit in school in the same row, in the same form, 30, 20, 15, 40 years ago. Today, in their life, they're totally opposite. They have nothing to do. The person used to sit 10 years, 4, 5, 6 years, sitting in the same form with the person. Today, they're so far apart, socially and organizationally and otherwise, that you want to know the same person who you sat down with in school. That is the system teaching you that. That is why our people are not getting together to develop businesses which could compete with these corporations, these big corporations that come from outside. Yes, we could compete, especially right on our turf here, if we organize ourselves differently and start to think differently. Okay? And that could only come when you start to really love people in your heart. This is not a religious love. This is a spiritual love. Because the religious love is what we're dealing with now. A lot of people wouldn't want to hear that, but that's the truth. That is why we're so divided. But when you have the same spirit, the same vibrations, and you deal with it from there inside, and it come out and it express itself, and the actions speak louder than the words. Remember, it's word, song, and power, right? So the word manifests the song, and the song give the power. That is what we should be doing. And then we will see the real independence in terms of standing our own square and not being subjugated by anyone or anything or any entity, never mind how Goliath it look in size. We are there. Okay? Now I want to speak about the review of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund held last Thursday by the Ministry of National Mobilization, Cooperative Development. It was a symposium that they held. It was held at the NIS building, Upper B Street, just outside the road there before you go to the Grenadines Wharf and the cruise ship boat. That big building that used to be owned by the R-Root industry. Now we have no R-Root industry right now, just in name. And they might tell you differently, but that's a fact. They might say they're rebuilding a factory, but we have no R-Root industry right now as we speak. That's a fact. Never mind what they say, they can't doubt that. Okay? That is one of the things that we need to rebuild ASAP in every sense. And industry doesn't mean just the factories and so that's just part of it. That's the infrastructural part. The industry means the people who contribute to it, the producers, the workers, the industrial people who extract the starch and so on, the administrators, management, marketers. That's the industry. That is the totality of the industry. And you wouldn't know that because they do not teach these things in school. And that is why we have to change up the entire structure of the curriculum in this country if we are to go anywhere. So the theme was revitalizing, the theme for the symposium, revitalizing the productive cooperative sector in St. Vincent and Grenadines. NAS conference room, Thursday, October 24th, 2024, the 224 there, started at 9 a.m. Now, yes, of course, you had the agenda there, prayer, national anthem, welcome remarks, feature remarks, and then you get into the session one. Regulatory and financial environment for cooperatives, right? That was done by the Registrar of Cooperatives and also by a relationship banking manager from Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And then you had session 2, developmental support for cooperatives, Register of Cooperatives again. And then you had presentations from CARDI, AICA, Windblow, SVG Cooperative thing, and FAO. Right? And then you had session 3, opportunities and requirements for markets, done by the Senior Project Officer for the Zero Hunger Trust Funds, SVG. Then session 4 was an open forum, strategic and concrete next steps. And that was it. After that was just a vote of thanks. Okay, now, I didn't go there, I didn't reach there for the first two sessions, not sessions, the first, the opening remarks and the feature remarks, welcome remarks, I wasn't there for that. And the regulatory and financial environment for cooperatives, I wasn't there for that either. Okay? Neither was I there for the relationship banking manager part of it. But from what I was told by people who were there, and so on, and the relevance of having this at this time would show you, if you look at it carefully, why the team was developed, revitalizing. It means that the productive cooperative sector in St. Vincent had no vitality at all. Had no vitality at all. And that actually came out in the session. So they are revitalizing, like you putting life into it again. That is what they're trying to do. And this is how they designed this thing, to try and put life into it. And with all due respects to the people on the ministry who did this, you have a far, far way to go. Even with these ambitions, which are necessary in some way, you're still missing a big piece of the pie. And you didn't even have the actual methodology of doing it. Because, like for example, the relationship banking manager, I wasn't there, but I can tell you, having been to the Bank of St. Vincent and Grenadines as a representative and supporter, a joint person with someone who was presenting a real development project, and having listened to other people who went there with the same type of projects, developmental projects, the bank is not structured right now to do that. Bank doesn't have, we were told by the bank, senior bank official, that the Bank of SVG does not have a developmental arm. So until one is put in place, until one is properly put in place, saying that you're saying about the relationship, about regulatory and financial environment for cooperatives, it's not there. It's not there at all right now. And that is why a lot of the cooperatives, agricultural cooperatives, of which 15 were present at the session, have been sleeping for the last 5-6 years. They have said that. Some of them haven't had a meeting since 2019. They don't function like that. Because again, a lot of our people in this country feel they're an island unto themselves. So they join a cooperative not to cooperate with the other people, but to see what they could get. And that is a mentality that cannot work in a cooperative. What they could get, not collectively, but for themselves. They have very little intention of working cooperatively, that the cooperative and the environment, the people in the community, and the various communities where the cooperative members come from, could lift as a one. And that is a big problem that we have in this country. And until we start to get our young people to develop that mentally, that mental frame, that mentality from a young age, so by the time they get into the 20s, the late teens and the early 20s, it comes like second nature to them. We're not going anywhere in this country, because all we're doing is patchworking. We're not building for the future, neither the near future nor the far future. We're just going over the same old crap all the time. Stop sleeping in mud. Can't sleep in mud. The top stick in the mud. So that part of it was very clear. Now, the presenters from these other organizations have been here from time immemorial, especially since we became independent in the last 45 years. Okay? The youngest one there is Windblow. FAO has been around from the United Nations for decades. Decades and decades. Cartier has been around since 1974. Aika has been around since in the 80s in this country. So Messini Grenadiers, cooperatives have been around for a long time, since we became independent, that organization. Okay? So they have been around and they have been involved, and look where we are. So it means to say whatever they have been, what they work, the product of their work over the time has not been gelled together. And I'm not saying that they have positive things in them, they do. But there is very little cohesion and cooperation and oneness in them to get the cooperative sector up where it should be. And they also have restrictions as far as the government is concerned, the country is concerned. They could only do what is on their mandate. Some of them, okay? So until these things are properly trashed out and put in a proper place and given the right roadmap of how to go, where to go, and when to go, we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. Right now, the Zero Hunger Trust Fund, I don't want to be sarcastic or derogatory. I'm just saying it how I see it. It's like plenty. Well, since this thing being in place, is what we have is plenty hunger. We are no zero hunger. We have moved further from that, from going towards zero hunger, further away from going towards zero hunger than further than to come in achieving zero hunger. We have more hunger. We have much more hunger. So the opportunity and the requirements for markets, these things, if the cooperative sector and the cooperatives are structured properly, they would only have to meet to know about new markets. Old markets, that would have been a part of their agenda, of their working program all the time when they meet. All the time when they meet, that would be a part of it. Because they should be organizations where they have a structure which allows them to be in tune with market opportunities as soon as they arise. But they're not like that. They don't even meet among themselves. So until these cooperatives are properly restructured and organized to be restructured, and that has to be a program where somebody has to show them how to do it and teach them how to do it until they know, they have confidence that they could start doing it with an occasional checkup by someone else. Nothing will happen. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. So they would not be able right now to do something which is to, I wonder why this internet working like that, which is to provide food for the school feeding program on a consistent, regular basis. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen right now. It's a good idea. It's a good goal to aim at, where you have cooperatives in certain areas should be working together and working collectively to make sure that at least a big part of the schools in their area, their vicinity, the feeding program, a lot of the food comes from them. But we're way off the time. We're way off the goal now. We're way off track. We're off course. We're not linked with that. We're not linked with that at all. And that is a big problem. So revitalizing has a lot of work in it. It's obvious that the Ministry of Mobilization, National Mobilization, with all the good intent it has, does not have at the moment the strategic approach to make this happen. And if they really need to make that happen, then they have to find the funding and find the right people to put it together. And you can't play any ism and schism with this. Otherwise, nothing will happen. It'll just come like another talk shop. Okay? So that as far as it goes, it's a good idea. Having a symposium was a good idea. No two ways about that. But making the symposium a stepping stone for the future is what you have to do right now. And that is where to make sure that it doesn't end up at a talk shop. Because after that, if it ends up like that, you'll go further, you'll reverse from the situation you were before last week, Thursday. And the revitalizing now would be double revitalizing if anybody has to do it. One thing I must say about this before I close this sector is that, and I've seen it, it's the second consecutive time I've seen it in ministries, governments organize symposium and workshops, right? We had one with the CARICOM meeting on food self-sufficiency 3 weeks ago, right? In the region, agriculture, to talk about how we get the 25 by 25 working. That was held at the UWI Center. And we had this one at the INS conference room. 2 beautiful facilities. And this is not the fault or the responsibility of the civil servants. We know that decision is not made by those people. The decision of catering is made by the political bodies, right? Not so much anything is wrong with it, but it leaves much to be desired. Because here again, for the second time, the caterer did not cater for anybody who is a vegetarian or who is an italist. Nothing at all. In a country like this, can't do that. You just can't do that. It means to say that 2 things. We did not anticipate in making the invitations. We did not request and inform from the cooperatives themselves how many of the members are vegetarians. You didn't do that survey. That's one. Because you're not accustomed to doing proper surveys. In any case, short term or medium term or what. And secondly, you just take it for granted that you tell the caterer, you agree what the price and how many meals per thing, and you said fish or pork, fish or some animal, and that's it. Chicken or fish, or in that case, what's it? So what? That doesn't make sense. Because here you are, except that is the policy you're trying to force on people. Here you are, trying to revitalize, your own words, the productive cooperative sector in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and requesting them to be an active part of the zero hunger in terms of providing, producing, foods in the communities to go into the school feeding program nearest to them. And you're going down this one-way track again, wasting time. Totally wasting time. And when you look at the foods, and this is not to blame the caterers either, there were very few vegetables in that meal. Very few. And they were vegetables, it's like imported carrots and these kind of things. So right there you can see from the symposium why you have to revitalize the cooperative agricultural sector. Because as far as the nutritional and economic goals and developmental goals go that we have to reach in this country, we ain't ready yet. We're way off course. Way off course. Okay? So that is a review of that workshop, that symposium. Now, tonight, because of our technical problems, we're not going to have any word from our sponsors, and we're not going to have any tunes play. So what I'll do, I'll just continue on, right? And cover everything within a time. Hoping that we will get a proper recording of it so that we can share it with our listeners, especially our bona fide, hardcore, long-time listeners. We have some new ones now who really want to hear also. Very interesting. Very interesting people. And that they will benefit from it later in the week. Okay, so I will get into now the proposed traditional marijuana farmers workshop. A preview of that. Preview of the first, no, not the workshop. The preview of the first annual Cannabis Festival, which is supposed to be held from the 1st to the 3rd November. That's Friday here, Saturday, and Sunday at the Annisville Sporting Complex. And I wish as many people who are interested could come and take part. Okay? Definitely so. The agenda is online, so I ask you to go there and look at it. 3 days. It's very important. Never mind what is your personal feeling about cannabis. You have to deal with the reality of life. Right now as I speak, internationally, what did I just say? Internationally, it's the most prized medicinal crop. The most prized plant right now. Most prized in the world internationally. Okay? So you go and check it out. So if you really, and we, St. Vincent and Grenadines, over the last, 50 years, because it started before 79, as far as I know, probably 55 years. 55 years, as far as my reckoning started. First time we heard about marijuana, saw marijuana growing in this country. 90% of the people, 95% didn't know what it was. Anyway, over that time, it's on the backs and bellies, hands and knees, feet, shoulders of our hard-working, determined people that this industry has reached where the progress has reached where it is today. Those are the ones who lift it up product-wise, who started decades and decades and decades after the other countries in the region. Decades and decades and decades. We were a major importer. And we switched by local production to be from being a major importer to being a major exporter, particularly regionally, and were able to maintain our market share until the darker forces, by their sheer military and political power, was able to destroy it starting in the 90s because they wanted the space and they wanted our genetic material also. Because we had built up an international reputation in terms of quality. No two ways about that. No two ways about that. Where our first genetic raw material came from is seeds from the different types that were imported here. And I could name 3 of them. Columbia Gold, you know where that came from. That should tell you where it came from. Okay? The Trinidadian Red Beard and the Jamaican Lamb's Bread. And by using them here, seeds at random, people started at random and started the production in the traditional way of setting all your seeds and what germinated, transplant them, and then you start looking to separate male from female when they show flower. That is when a lot of the crossbreeding took place. Because inadvertently, 90% of the time, you would always miss a male or 2, depending on the size of your field. And that will, before you would miss them, before after, you wouldn't get them out until after their pollen has been released, so that they fertilize a couple of or several of the females, and you have seedweed, which is not a bad thing because that is what our seeds from generation to generation, that's where our seeds came from. So we were independent. And that is very interesting that I know several people have written books about the marijuana industry, but I think I'll have to put some pen to paper and put one, because these aspects, I don't think they have been highlighted. The independence of our marijuana industry for over 40 years. Independent in that we didn't have to buy seeds from outside. We didn't do that when we took the quality up to international and regional levels. We didn't have to buy inputs from outside because at that time, the crop was grown with local manures. So it's on that strength that this government has been able to reach where it reached in terms of developing on a legal side the movement to legalize medicinal marijuana based on the international movement to develop an international medical marijuana industry. Okay? So what I'm going to say about that right now is that is why, I'm not going to go into too much detail tonight. That is for, we have to speak about that also next Tuesday. I will give you a review, Jawelin. But now I'm giving you a preview. That is why we, the traditional farmers and the families of the traditional farmers who put that platform there so that this industry could take off, must be taken care of, investment-wise in relation to where we should be now in this industry. Must. Otherwise, that would be a crime against our people, big crime. And surely people who want to commit crimes deliberately, I hope not. So that has to be done. At the same time, our people will have to learn to work together to build, as Marcus Garvey say, the old Black Star Line. That takes a lot of work to work together as a business group. This is business now. In order to hold a share in the market. Some of that was in place in the last 40 years before the industry, in the first 40 years of the industry. Some of that was in place, but it was in place in a different environment where you had very little competition. But now that the competition is there globally, you have to find a different approach, completely different approach. Okay? So what you're going to see in this show, in this 3 days, from what I have been hearing and what I've been reading, is that you're going to have lectures from international figures, including a lot of our regional people who have been working in the marine industry, particularly in the development of strain side, genetic side, breeding side, okay? To show I what genetically is there and what is possible as far as medicinal cannabis goes. We're going to have people speaking about production, post-harvest, and transformation of the product, raw product, into different things. And you're going to see a lot of products which are available in the region, including this one in particular here, on display. You're going to see that. All type of products, okay? You're going to see several, which shows you at least a glimpse of the potential of the industry. We're going to have people from different countries coming in here in groups. In the region, you have Jamaica, St. Lucia, Barbados, Antigua, these places coming here as part of the symposium. And they will be also sharing the experiences. Because all these countries, in Kitts and Nevis, all these countries have the same legal setup, well, legal area of medicinal marijuana. Remind you that apart from Jamaica, we in Jamaica are the only two traditional top-class producers of this commodity over the last 40, 45 years. But now, that is a different ballgame. All these countries are in the competition. They have investments in them. So we have to see how we proceed in this area, in this new market space. And what is required of the traditional farmers, both individually and collectively. What needs they have to get, because they are starting at a disadvantage, being taken advantage of over the last 45 years, 50 years. And how do they make sure that they maintain their turf, their market share, so that that income could now come and get rid of a lot of the rural and urban poverty, both rural and urban poverty that exists in this country right now. Poverty-stricken climates that exist. Or none of us are really poor, we're just poverty-stricken, which is something a little different. So, I plan to go out there tomorrow, Gawain, to see what the basic setup looks like with some other people, of course, and to see how we could adjust and be where we fit into it. There is a traditional farmers traditional cultivators village that is being set up, which is good, where that is where the traditional cultivators will go and exhibit their products. Okay? I heard just today that the ITEL Fest committee has been formally invited to be a part of it. And that's another good step. So you expect that ITEL will be selling out there at some times. Okay? During the program. I think it's very important for people who are interested to go and listen to some of the lectures. And of course, the lectures should have an area or more a symposium where the public could ask, the floor could ask questions and have them answered by certain panels. And then what comes out of that, what should come out of that symposium now, should be a roadmap forward which should and must highlight the support and the areas and the activities that the traditional farmers and others need to take to get where they're supposed to get. That has to come out. Now, given all our support and vibration, good vibration to that workshop, to that cannabis festival. Well, even before that, I should say, on the second day, the organizers, things changing, and they have to be changing for the better, because you can't fool the Most High. So this has to be something that is coming genuinely. On the second day, which is the 2nd of November, which in Rastafari tradition is the most important day on the calendar internationally. That is the coronation on the 2nd of November of His and Her Imperial Majesty. Same time, 1930, right? His Imperial Majesty and Her Imperial Majesty. Okay? So that day will be recognized as Haile Selassie Coronation Day by the Cannabis Fest organizers. And I say, you have to give Jack a jacket and say, okay, that's good. That's excellent. So we're going to pay, I and I are going to pay our reverence, and I reverence to that particular day. We're going to be there for the 3 days, but in that particular day, and I'm going to be very reverent in that time. Okay? And the vibe's going to ride up. So the week after now, if it's possible the week after, we're going to do it the week after, but not later than 2 weeks after. We have the first proposed traditional marijuana farmers workshop, and I could put / symposium. Because right now, if everybody being honest, there are lots of problems, lots and lots of problems since this thing started late 2018 and operational early 2019. Our traditional marijuana farmers have been out of the market. The market share dropped to less than 1% of what they used to make in the 70s, 80s, 90s, in the early 2000s. Okay? And that is reflected in the poverty-strickenness of the communities all over St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So, apart from that, there are myriads of production problems related to different things. In particular, the genetics, the seed quality, and the system which they are trying to adopt now, which is a very strange system to them. They've never practiced it. And the dependency on imported seed, which is great right now. So there are lots of things that we have to look at. Lots of things that we have to look at. The workshop has been submitted, workshop proposal, and we expect that we should have some definite positive word about it between now and Monday next week. The purposes of the workshop, there are 3 purposes, and there are 3 topics basically. Purpose is to prepare and train traditional farmers in 1, claiming and owning market share. Business-wise, lots of things involved in that. 2, establishing and gaining ownership and control of your marketing production system. So you have to regain that quality standard that you had in the 80s and the 90s, 70s, late 70s, 80s and 90s in particular. You have to do that. And 3, creating a sovereign and sustainable cannabis industry in this country. Sovereign means you own it. It's part of you. Most of what is in it is in your control right here. And a sustainable means it can sustain itself for generations. Sustainable cannabis industry. And the topics are 1, the nature, relevance, and size of the international cannabis market and the relationship of the local market to it. Second topic is major elements of marketing and production in relation to the present challenges. And the third topic is organization and centralization going forward. Okay? And we hope this will be well attended by representatives of the different groupings or individuals, right? Most of them is as far as a lot of them are groupings, so we're going to reach out to them. There are even some cooperatives involved in this, and they're not functioning properly. So we expect them to send at least 2 members to this thing, and some individuals will come also, but groupings. And we expect to have a very pleasant and rewarding day. And chart the way forward. This whole thing would need more than 1 workshop, but this will be the first workshop. We happen to go there. Okay? Now, the traditional, not controversial, the 20 farming families, 21 farming families from different communities throughout this archipelago of islands, in which we call St. Vincent and the Grenadines, receive, well, almost all. I hope that the others will do so by tomorrow or Thursday, the latest of this week. There's a few more to go. A package of vegetable seeds plus other inputs, courtesy of an indigenous organization in New York, which is, I'm trying to find the name of that organization, which has been very helpful, very, very, very helpful to us in this time. Extremely so. And we have to give thanks to them. Okay? We must give much thanks to that organization for being here with us and for taking us to this level where we can distribute It's agricultural inputs in the terms of seeds, in the terms of organic inputs, in the terms of potting soil mix, and so on, to our people at a time when they really need it. At the time when they really need it, it couldn't be more timely. It came because of the devastating effects of, first of all, this year, a long dry spell, and secondly, because of the hurricane, which started as a natural storm, but was geo-engineered to do the destruction it did. Yes, they can quote I on that. So, in terms of those two areas, our indigenous people have stepped up to help us. And for that we are truly thankful and truly grateful for that. Okay? So make sure that those of you who have not collected, the few of you who have not collected the package, go and do so as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Anyone who's hearing this and know any, right? Make sure that they go and collect it as soon as possible. I used to go tomorrow. And if it's not possible for you to go tomorrow, don't go later than Thursday. And make sure that you have it by that time. And that's the start of an organization, a movement, where you now start something positive collectively in your community. And we will take it from there and make sure that it manifests itself into something very productive. Very, 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 very productive going forward. There's no two ways about that. That is where we are, and we will take it from there and carry it forward productively. We will keep in contact, as I said, both sometimes on this radio station, but also online. We will set up our own Zoom meetings where we could meet together at a certain frequency and participate and make sure that we develop this, we use the seed which has been planted to germinate, to bear lovely fruiting and flowering activities which will be of benefit to our communities, both in the short, medium, and long term. Okay? Or in all three terms. And we could use it as a model going forward for even the very cooperatives which now need revitalization to accept and use as a blueprint going forward. And definitely so, we as groupings could move from there and use that same platform to be a part of the school feeding program going forward. So we're starting small, but we have the intention and the vision to go very far, very fast, and very productive in this thing. That's where we are going. Now, in terms of getting there are certain things, a few things I will explain tonight of what we will have to do. And starting from now that you have the seed, I want you to start following this procedure. So in doing that, I'm going to get right now into the biodynamic gardening and planting by the moon phase guide for the period Wednesday, the 30th October, that's tomorrow, to Tuesday, the 5th November, next Tuesday, 2024. Okay, we're going to get into that right now. And I'm going to show you how that tool, that guide, is a guide that we're going to use going forward as much as possible with these inputs which you have received. Other people are using them on it, but I particularly want you to use these, and you will experience a different kind of farming, a more productive kind of farming going forward, and you will be happy for it. So here we go. Right now, as you know, today's Tuesday, and we are coming to the end of the moon phase called the waning crescent. This is between the last quarter and the new moon. That phase is called the waning crescent. The moon is in crescent form, but it's getting smaller. Okay? The moon phase is getting smaller. You have 3 days, 2 days left in that phase to go, which is tomorrow and Thursday. Tomorrow and Thursday. And you know it's not the time to set seed. So I don't want any of you to be setting any seed, those who have got the seed already, until after tomorrow, after Friday that is, because Friday is the new moon. And new moon is the time to rest, to meditate, and to celebrate. So what you have gotten right now, you just hold on that for a while. Because till these 2 weeks, these 2 days to go, Wednesday and Thursday, is a good time to harvest and store whatever crops you have in the field, to fertilize anything you had in the field, to transplant what seedlings you had, okay? But in terms of preparing now for going forward, this thing is to clean up the area which you're going to plant some of these things that you have going forward. Start cleaning. Start cleaning, start preparing your nursery area. If big, adding to it, because you have trays now, seedling trays, and you have pot and soil mix, which is what you're going to put in the trays to plant the seed in, so that when you take out a seedling, it has a root structure and soil around it, pot and soil around it, so it doesn't go under any stress early, and you don't get any damage early. You save more seedlings that way, and you get a healthier crop that way, okay? So it's a good time to clean up whatever area, because some of the things you're going to be planting direct in the earth, like for the people who had cucumbers, okay? You're going to mow your lawns and prune. So that is what Wednesday and Thursday still are for, doing those things. Okay? Harvesting and storing crops, fertilizing if you have anything in the ground, transplanting if you have any seedlings, and destroying weeds, which is to clean up the place properly. Now, the new moon is Friday, and it's that the time you rest and you give thanks and praises, you meditate and you celebrate. So you must find something positive to celebrate. Even if celebrating the fact that you just got some inputs. Okay? And that you meditate on that you're going to have to work. You're in a new family and you're going to have to work closely. Never mind the physical distance support to you. We could link you by one telephone call. Right? And you hold a vibe and you develop from there. And build the love. But from Saturday, the phase changes to the waxing crescent. Waxing crescent. And that is the 2nd of November. That is the same. You see how these things, you see the vibration of these things? Second is the coronation of His Ineffable Imperial Majesty. Second is a big day in the cannabis fest. 2nd November. For I personally, the second has double significance for I, apart from the Rastafari significance. 2nd of November, was the date on which Iban got married years ago. And the 2nd of November, years ago, 3 years after that, is the date when my wife's first daughter was born. So it carries a lot of significance there, family-wise for I, okay? Now it's a good time to plant above ground annual short crops, especially leaf plants. Also corn, herbs, and cucumbers. Okay? Now here again, above ground annuals, most of which the seeds you got are there. Most, not all. The herb, you have, some people have cauliflower, some people have cabbage. Maize is the herb. You have cucumber. So you're going to start planting all of these from that week, from Saturday week. So don't hurry and plant them tomorrow or Thursday or even Friday. Use the time to get everything together. You're going to set your seeds, your lettuce seeds, and your celery seeds, and particularly celery seeds, very early in this phase, because celery seeds take a long time to burst, longer than most other seeds. Lettuce is going to burst in a flash a couple of days. Okay? So the waxing crescent, the moon now comes up, new moon comes up and it starts waxing in the crescent form. Okay? And that's going to go right through until next Tuesday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So by the time I come forward in this program next Tuesday, I should have confirmation from all of you who received these seeds that you already set some of these seeds. I'm not saying to set all at one time. You're wise enough not to do that. You have to, what we call, stagger your phase, your production. So you want to stretch this season as long as possible. Okay? And then some people wouldn't have all the space, but you remember you're sharing a bit of it. You're sharing some of it with your neighbors around. So even in that, you're not setting all one day. So everybody who's going to plant, you and your neighbors, you're going to have a continuous harvest for as long as possible. Okay? Right. So I want to hear that you've started it in that phase from Saturday the 2nd of November, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Going right up, okay? Wednesday. Well, when you come Tuesday, we'll tell you how the rest of the phase goes until the first quarter. And then to tell you the other things to plant now, what you have there, those which bear fruit and seed from the next phase going up. So I expect you to do the best and make the best use of it. Okay? So you have your work lined out for you. Should November continue weather-wise as October has been, you would have an excellent farming month to come. Now, we all know that by the middle of December, our rainy season comes almost to an end. And we get very sporadic and in-between showers going down into January, February, and March. Sometimes we hardly get a shower, and even April. So what main support do you need? Easy, water, stored water. So I have decided that I am going to present formally on your behalf and on behalf of the I who are involved in the distribution and the group that sent it to you, our desire and your desire, of course, to have sufficient stored water or to have some level of stored water to carry you through that dry season which is coming upon you soon. So I'm going to present a formal request. Request is not a begging, because we're not really begging. We are politely requesting what's supposed to come to us, what has to come to us, and what must come to us, the people, which is there, which is at least 450-gallon tough tank to each of the people who receive a package in this thing. At least one. As soon as possible, so that they could start to saving water to take them through the crucial stage of the next 4 or 5 months going down the road. And we know it will be particularly rough in the Grenadines. Okay? Yes, we need that. And if you have that storage, and you have organization in your region, you don't really have to depend on the rain alone, you know. See how this thing could work. You work in a group in a community, you mightn't have it, but one of the people in the community who community-minded and organized and with you, somehow would have a vehicle, like some open back vehicle, or have access to it. And you get some 50-gallon barrels, and you go by a river or a source of fresh, clean water, a spring or something, and these things are available. That is what you see the farmers and the cooperatives need, this kind of support also. And you get a small pump. You don't need any big pump for that. People do it all the time. People who go over there and come right in Cameron Park on one of the bridges, like the bridge going to Kivali, to Romans Bay, and they pump water from the way. You fill these, and you go home, and you do the reverse. You empty them with the same pump into your tank. So you always have a storage. Well, the Grenadines people don't have that facility. That is why they really need this thing. They need to save every drop of rainwater that comes. But you always have that facility there available. And once you have that facility available to you, you will be able to grow these crops until the next rainy season starts without any difficulty. Not that you're not going to use a tank in the rainy season, but you'll use it only about 10 to 15% of the time you need to use it in the dry season. So I'm going to put this demand and request formally to the responsible people in the government to make sure that you are a recipient of one of those tanks that came here to give to people in times of crisis. And this is in time of crisis because this package came to people in time of crisis. So they have to complement this side of the program with that at least. Okay? So that is what I'm going to do on your behalf. Definitely. Definitely on your behalf, I'm going to do that. So we're going to make sure that this program gets on exceedingly well and keep working together as a newfound unit right through and build on it and use it as a template going forward to build other programs, to make sure we get other support from other groupings, including groupings of this government, of this independent, quote-unquote, country, to do what they themselves even say they could do, because we the people have to do it, which is to reduce our import food dependency, reduce our food import bill, and at the same time be in a position to feed our school children to achieve zero hunger, not just in terms of the quantity of food, but in terms of the quality of food, and get our nutritional standards and goals achieved, reducing obesity, reducing diabetes, reducing stress, reducing heart failure and these things, all these things, reducing stunting in children, improving breastfeeding in children, because when the women eat more greens and they have a different diet, a more balanced diet, their body producing the hormones which will give them the capacity to produce more milk and the desire to breastfeed longer. Not this kind of foolish thing that come from outside that mess up the whole mentality. And that is where we're going. Okay? So, on behalf of Nice Radio, not Nice Radio, on behalf of Bihil Radio, on behalf of Kankadi Radio, and I don't know if it is also being covered tonight by Fun City, on behalf of the technical people who are working hard to make sure that the station gets on again as soon as possible. They have to get their computer up and running. I hope that they're making progress with that, the main computer. And we need more young people trained in computer repairs, quick computer repairs. And also we need more investment in stations like Bihil. I hope that I can help them to find some investment so that they will always have a standby computer, main computer, as soon as possible. So that if one breaks down, the other one just clicking at the same time. Because it's just like the same principle, one hand can't clap. So we have to put them on that level and make sure that Bihil as an important station, always there to broadcast, to perform. On behalf of you, our listeners, who, whether you heard it live, you're still going to hear the program because it's been recorded. I want to wish you a most pleasant week. A most pleasant week. And a most pleasant weekend coming up. Until next Tuesday, I'm taking Exodus now and says, stay strong, stay good, stay loving. Rastafari.